I am a very firm believer of community building and brands engaging in that. So let me put it this way. Community is the ultimate brand currency. There is absolutely no bigger currency than community, and one of the finest, one of the most consistent and one of the most richest ways to do community building is through storytelling. Some of the most meaningful ways in which you can do that, and probably some of the toughest ways, you're probably not going to like it, are by following the following 3 tenets that I have at least followed with each of the brands that I've helped to build communities for. The first thing, and it may be counterintuitive to remember, it's when you are building a community for the brand, you must remember that it's not about you, the brand. It's actually about them, the people for whom you're building the community. People band together because of shared interests. They don't band together because they like the brand. They band together because they have a shared interest or because they belong to, a certain subculture. And more so after the pandemic, because the world became so divided, so isolated, they find a common need to come together. If your brand can facilitate that common need to come together, then that's great. Your consumers will find your brand at that intersection. So always start by remembering that it's about them, it's not about you, the brand, and that selflessness needs to be almost the premise of your community building. The second is, in all of the content that you are making, and we'll talk about content strategy in just a bit, you have to find and keep a very authentic voice, right? Because in today's day and time, when the consumer is actually the trinity, they are the culture, they make the culture, they shape it, and then they consume it, right? So they can sniff inauthentic from a mile away. So if you are looking to build content that's engaging and that keeps your audience sticky, it has to be very authentic. It has to speak in a tone of voice that's true to the brand, and sometimes it may even cause dislike, but so be it. You have to take the risk. The third part, which a lot of brands don't get, is that your community building exercise has to be very central, not just to your marketing, that goes without saying, but it also has to be central to your business planning. If it is just an exercise that you're doing as an extracurricular to your marketing and to your business planning, it's never going to be successful. Case in point is when Harley Davidson did not take community building very seriously till the time it almost came to the collapse of the company. And when they took it seriously, they pretty much backward integrated all of their business processes to put community building at the very center of their existence as a company. You can read up about it and you can see how they did it. So a minute very quickly about content strategy. Content strategy is not something I can cover very quickly in a minute, but your content strategy and the communication platforms you go to and the budgeting exercise that you do, again, like I said, has to be at the heart of this community building that you do. And without it, the rest of what I have said is all going to fall apart. But that's, again, not something that can be covered in a minute. But I just wanted to speak to you about the 3 very important tenets. That is, A, remembering that it's about the audience, not about the brand, and about their shared interests and how your brands can facilitate that. B, finding, evolving, and keeping a very, very authentic brand tone of voice. And C, making community building central to not just your marketing but your business process, so much so that you have a content strategy, you have the communication platforms that you're going to deploy that content on, and of course budgets and resources that you're going to allocate on a consistent basis to support that. That's how you're going to get a content strategy in place. That's how you're going to slowly build communities, and that's how, as a result, over a long term, you're going to get loyal customers. If you ask me, user-generated content is marketing gold, good user-generated content, right? There's also research increasingly going on to show that many countries like Japan are actually moving on from really big influencers to like micro or nano influencers. People have more trust on authentic influencers with much smaller following than celebrities with like really millions of followers. So the definition of influence is really coming down to authenticity than anything else. So I think one of the foremost ways of inclusion of user-generated content is the ability to spot it. So very obviously, you'll have to have a very good sort of mechanism of social listening to be able to spot it. There are so many brands who actually lose out on the opportunity to include user-generated content even after having tagged the brand, where they don't even respond. And it's happened to me personally, so I can imagine that there are so many consumers, writing glowing testimonials about their experience with the brand and the brand not even responding. So it's like a one-sided love story, right? So don't let that opportunity go to waste. After you have spotted, the second thing to do is to participate. Participate in this. If the consumer has written a review, or the consumer has posted a video, or the consumer has written a post tagging you, or it's a tweet, and I'm assuming for a minute it's all positive. We'll come to in a second how to deal with negative user-generated content. The second step for you is always and always to participate. The framework of how you choose to participate, again, your social and or your content team should already build it and have it in place. Participation means that you could encourage, you could have a conversation, you could have a tete-a-tete on your social channels and really feel that the curtains between you and the consumer do not exist, and it's almost as if two friends are chatting and not a brand and the consumer. Now, for a moment, if you talk about negative comments, etc., which happen to all brands, even the best of brands at all points of time, you will have to be honest and authentic and get to addressing that as soon as possible. Take a look at what GoPro and Calvin Klein do. GoPro, in fact, does a very, very good job of using user-generated content. In fact, they subsist on user-generated content. Take a look at their YouTube channel. They do such a great job of using user-generated content as part of their marketing campaign. Pretty much almost 80% of their marketing campaign, if you will, actually runs on user-generated content. Rewards and gratification is a really great way to make people want to do a lot more user-generated content. The last bit I'll leave you with. The big brands, of course, they can benefit a lot by user-generated content in their marketing campaign. The smaller businesses, the ones that are building their businesses ground up, they stand to benefit the most with user-generated content. So go out there, find users and consumers who are willing to put that testimonial video, who are willing to do that TikTok for you, because research has proven that consumers are 80% more willing to buy a new product or sample a new product when they see a friend or someone they know trying that product and saying, I love it, this is amazing. Go out there and get someone to make that piece of content authentically for you and see how love for that product builds up. So if you're a small business, that honestly is a really great way for you to build awareness and possibly even adoption for your brand, if not a whole lot of stickiness. So all the best. These are some of the tips for you to start thinking about how to use user-generated content as part of it.